I would like to do a segment on preparing ATCs. ATCs are trading cards, artist trading cards that are 2.5 by 3.5 inches, no bigger, no smaller, and they can be flat or with a little bit of embellishments on them, collage, some 3D papers, you know, just not too thick because they have to be able to fit into sleeves. On ATCs, you can also optionally put labels on the back or just handwrite your name. But ATCs can be done on cardstock. You can actually buy prepared papers just for ATCs. I like to recycle a lot of my material. So I'd like to take this opportunity to kind of show you behind the scenes how I prepare my ATCs. Now, like I said, you can use plain cardstock. Now this cardstock is 110-pound cardstock that I bought at Staples. I bought a big package of it, 8 letter-size sheets, a big package of it for $17. Okay. I also have a smaller package. No, sorry, same size package, only 65 pounds. That's a parchment style, which obviously is a little light. And even these, they're a little bit soft for an actual ATC if you were just going to say do some drawing on it, because it bends very easily. You can use not old, but you can use art experiments. And this is what I did. This is on Terra Skin, which is paper made from stone, and this is when I was testing out making my own stamps. And here's a cardboard stamp that I made. I practiced on Terra Skin, so I just cut it down to 2.5 by 3.5. It makes a great background. Okay, so I can reuse. This is that same 110-pound paper that I printed music paper onto it, then put an extremely light wash of burnt sienna on it, and with a little bit of transparent red iron oxide, very, very light. Let it dry, then I ran it through the printer again to print butterflies on it, and you can see that it has curled a little bit, so I would have to put this through a press, but you can see that it is still, even with the light wash, because it's just a wash of color, it is quite thin. Then I took a photograph, this one here, printed it on that same 110-pound paper, but I collaged these book pages. This is from a 1902 book. I vintaged the edges, and then I collaged it, and I put Deco Page over the whole piece. Now it's much stiffer. You can see it has almost no curl to it. Okay. Then taking old journal pages. Okay, and these are more journal pages that I write stuff down that I don't want anybody to see, and it's more just to vent. So I can use those, put about 5 coats of gesso on each side. Then I collaged music paper, a wash of paint, collage paper, nice and strong. This is ideal for a trading card. Watercolor paper. These are mono prints that I did on watercolor paper. Very strong. This is a 150-pound watercolor paper, and then this is 300-pound watercolor paper, which is even stronger, which I did just washes of color on both sides. Okay, but let's say you don't have any watercolor paper or mixed media paper or anything like that. What can you use? Look in your recycle bin. Cup of soup cardboard, nice and thick. This is chicken wing cardboard. This is even thicker. You don't want to make it too thick, okay, because if it's really thick, then you can't build many layers, but this is still pretty good, okay? Pizza box. Cereal box. By the way, I don't eat this stuff anymore. And let's see, this is there's a back and front cover of 12 by 12 papers that I use, okay? This is nice and strong. Even the sheet off my disposable palette paper, this works just as well. So for what I'd like to do is show you how to prepare these. You can't use these the way they are because they have a glossy finish. Nothing's really going to stick to this, so you have to prepare it with gesso. And to save time, I've prepared some pieces already, but I'm still going to show you how I've done it. Okay, so these are the chicken wing pieces. This is the size. And what I did is I put on, this is about 5 coats of gesso. It's got a bit of a curl to it. It's still drying. Okay. When you use gesso, I avoid using a heat gun because you need to let it cure for at least 24 hours. Once you put the gesso on there, this is ready to be worked on. And then you've got the cardboard here. If you're working straight with acrylics, you don't really need to prime this. Okay, but putting gesso on both sides will ensure that your card is very strong. Okay, and then these now, this is terrace skin, which doesn't need to be primed, but I primed it on this side because it had old artwork on it, which I don't want to be part of the piece. So I primed this, and these are actually quite good to use. So I'm going to, again, put these aside, and I just want to show you. And when you're priming pages, it's best, if possible, if you can do these, do your priming, do a bunch at a time. Okay? So, just going to show you this little Lipton thing. No, actually, I'll show you the chicken wing. So, when we get these out of my recycle bin, I first measure that they have to be at least 2.5 by 3.5. They need to be bigger. Because once I prime them, okay, then I'm going to cut them down. If you have to worry about priming something this small, you're going to want to go to the edge. Some areas may be uneven. It's best to go with something a little bit bigger, and then you can cut it down. At the same time, if you have something that's this big, it's much thinner. Okay, so instead of putting 25 layers of gesso, put 2 or 3 layers of gesso, and then you can collage, let's say even napkins, tissue paper, newspaper even. Collage 1 or 2 layers of that, and that'll make your page really strong. And this is what it's going to look like. This is, this sheet here is, I think, only 90-pound watercolor paper, which is really flimsy. And on this side, I basically gessoed it and painted it, and I scraped some paint on this. And then I collaged pieces of rice paper? It's some type of fiber paper. And now it's really strong. Then I just have to cut it down, and I'll show you that after. So I've got my Deco Art acrylic gesso. You can see how thick it is. Okay, nice and thick. And I'm just using my number 8 Bristol flat or soft grip brush, and the first layer is going to slip and slide, and don't put it too thick, otherwise if you put it too thick and then when the top looks like it's dry, you're going to put another layer, underneath won't be dry. So you're just going to basically put your layer like that. That's it. That's all you have to do. Okay? Then you're going to, so you do a whole bunch of these. This is really nice to do on a rainy day when you don't really feel creative, but these are good to have done ahead of time. Then, when you've got the second layer done, when the second layer is dried, I would say, let it dry for, a good half hour or so. Then, paint another layer. Okay. Then when that's dry, paint your third layer. And it's more of the feel, because everybody, the cardboards are made different weights and depending on where you live in the world. So you want it to feel nice and strong. Okay? Just like so. That's it. Okay, so I would do this on the shiny side. Again, this side here doesn't really need it because it's just cardboard, but if you can, at least even put just a layer of Deco Page on there as a sealer, or just put 1 layer of gesso, just to make it strong on this side as well. So put that aside, and put that aside. Now, to trim it down, I don't even need to open that. So all you're going to do is basically 2.5 to 3.5 inches. If you use a paper trimmer, make sure it's nice and strong. And so I've got, let's see, I'm at 3.5 now as well. Keep in mind depending on what you've painted, if you're using old artwork, take that into consideration when you're cutting things down. So for instance, I've got the music paper that I collaged on this one here. You want to make sure you cut it portrait style so the music runs across when you look at the card. At the same time, there's nothing wrong with the music papers going this way. There are no rules. Okay, so let's go this way. So this is perfect for ATCs because it's at the 3.5 mark right there. Okay. Didn't quite go. This is really, really thick. A guillotine would actually be really good for this. Okay, so now I'm going to look at this, and I've got this ugly mark there. So I'm going to start cutting this way. So at 2.5, I'm just going to turn it this way so I can see the lines. I mean, how easy is that? Reusing artwork. Even if you have a painting that you've done, use the painting. And how far does this go? It's too small. Okay, so we're going to put that aside. And then these pieces you can cut down into smaller pieces to actually embellish, put like a strip on here or whatever. But now these are ready to go for ATCs. You can use this side, you can use this side. It doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to put that aside. So now I want to show you about reusing an old painting. So here's a painting that I did on, this is mixed media paper. Okay, it's for a video that I did on showing how to use saran wrap for this technique. I'll be doing that another video I have for ATCs. So again, with this, because it's an actual little painting, what I'll do is I'll go here, and I don't really want any of the white to show, so I'm going to trim that down to get rid of that. Now I'll cut this down 3.5, and I'm not even paying attention as to where the elements are because these are just serving as background images. Now you have more time at home. You can actually measure as to if you would get more ATCs if you cut this way or if you cut this way. So now I'm going to cut on the 2.5, and you'll see the different, how they're going to look so different, yet slightly related. Okay, let me just take a minute just to do these. Okay, I know that I'm going to have a little bit left, so I'm going to cut it on this side so I get more of the flower. So when you do this, so just you can use the cereal boxes, prime them, then you can cut the cereal boxes down. Okay? And as well, you can also, once you paint on, or sorry, once you gesso the paint box, or the cereal boxes, or chicken wing boxes, or whatever, you can just paint the background quickly over the whole thing, like this, and when you cut it down, it'll be totally random. And if you visit my blog, everything's going to be at the end of the video. If you visit my blog, I've got so many videos on preparing random backgrounds for artwork in general. Okay, not just ATCs, but journal pages and stuff like that. So now I've got these cards. Now this is a painting that I've recycled, but look at the unique pieces on the card. The backgrounds are blank, so I'll put my label back there, but look at this. How cool are these? Now you can also make the cards this way, but there you go. So now I'm set for a whole bunch of ATCs. And on this now, I would just basically do painting, drawing, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's ready to go. Okay. The one thing that you don't typically do is oil painting on an ATC because of the drying time and all stuff like that. The one thing I do recommend though is if you are using book pages, I get my vintage books at a thrift store. Smell them first to make sure that the book pages the book didn't come from a smoker, because you know, that's this smoke that's that old. It's really, really strong. Okay, So there you go. So this is all set. And then from here, I just go from there. So with that, I can use that, or I can use this. But you know what? If I had to choose which is more inspiring, using something from an existing piece of artwork is much more inspiring to work on than the almighty blank white page. I mean, ugh, I hate it. So that's about it. And let's see, oh yeah, as well, if you take a look at this as just an example, I can cut this down and just use these as my background, but this is too commercialized. Okay, I would still rather just paint this and use it. But think of using calendars, you know, the top part of a calendar has a photo. Use that. That will probably need to be thickened up. So use the gesso, one layer to thicken up. Use the whole sheet, okay, the whole calendar sheet. Gesso to thicken it up. Let's say two coats on both sides. And then on the one side that you're going to do your artwork on, collage a napkin or a tissue or a paper towel, and that'll make it strong. Okay, and that will be the next thing that I show you. Okay, so one thing I forgot to tell you is you can also use old cards. So I'm a supporter of the WWF, and these are blank cards. I love creating artwork out of these, so you can actually use these for postcards or the ATCs. These are kind of pretty to actually chop up though. But old Christmas cards, you know, you can chop these up and use these as your main background. And these parts here, you can actually just paint over and use these as additional cards as well. Like this one here, my mom gave me for a Christmas past. I love this. So I would make like matching cards, and I would probably cut it this way, okay, as a matching card, and do very little, but just maybe collage or even paint something on paper, cut it, and then put it on top of here. So Christmas cards are actually a really good thickness as well. Now, on my table, I put down some no-stick cooking and baking parchment. I got this at our No Frills, which is the low-end store for Loblaws. I can't find anything that's as good as this. If there is, please let me know. But this is just really inexpensive and nothing sticks to it. The piece that I used where I was priming all the chicken wing pieces, that piece is like 3 weeks old, and I've done so much stuff on it. So I've got this here. Now I'm going to, my victim is my pizza box. My Band-Aids are, I've got a napkin. I just opened it up. Okay, it's just a paper napkin. Love this. Wine bottles. Old tissue paper that I was playing when I was making my own stamps. And another napkin. This is a cute little birdhouse. Oh, and I'm missing one piece from it, but you get the point, okay? And this is old papers that I was practicing my suminagashi technique. Okay, this is old fiber papers. I think it's like just decorative papers. Okay, not thrilled with the effect, but I can use that to strengthen up the page. So you can use any of these, okay, any of these, but I'm going to show you the napkin because everybody has napkins. You can even use paper towel. Okay, there's absolutely nothing. There's nothing out there that you can't use, okay, for strengthening. So when you get your napkin, okay, it's usually 2-ply at least. I'm going to remove the backing. Okay. And this here, you don't throw it away. So what you can do is, because if we're going to cut this down for ATCs or postcards, there's no need to turn things around, okay, because this is just to strengthen. When you do actually start cutting it down, you'll have to make sure though that you cut it this way and cut it this way, okay, then cut your ATC out of that. But when you do that, you run the risk of waste. So here, you would not be able to get 2 pieces without having a fold. But it doesn't matter. Because we're going to be using Deco Page as our glue, you won't see this. The only issue you have is between here and here. Okay, so just do a little bit of dry fitting first. So I could get And yes, you could use a ruler. So I can get 3 going across this way. If I went this way, it's still only 3. Okay, so that's fine. It's still only 3. So I can get 6 out of this sheet going this way, and I can get 6. So it doesn't really matter. You know why? Because it's square. Okay? If you went to the very edge, though, you could get 4. You could get 4, but it's cutting it tight. It's really cutting it tight. Be conservative, especially when you're learning, and just leave a gap to the outside. Okay? So with that, I'm going to leave mine the way they are. I'm not going to tear this. You can tear it and put them all the same size. So I poured some Deco Page into a little container. Okay? And it's nice and thick. And what I'm going to do is, I initially start with a very, very thick application, and you'll see why. First of all, because it'll take longer to dry. Now, this stuff here is so gluey, okay, it's very, very strong, very little water content, very, very strong. You may want to put rubber gloves on, disposable gloves, if it bothers you when this stuff sticks to your fingers. I have to use Winning Colors, now it's known as 1001 stain remover, to clean my hands from this stuff. Okay, nice and thick. I'm working very fast. Take your paper, lay it down. Okay. Now, if you want your now this technique applies to ATCs, postcards, anything that you want to strengthen to make for an art piece. Okay, you can also push it to wrinkle the pieces, which I think is really cool. So I'm just going to push a little bit. Your pages will tear, but look, I don't know if you can see this. It's see-through. Then from here, I'm going to, oh my goodness, reach, going to spray spray just with a smidgen of water. And now put some more Deco Page on top. And the reason why I do this, because the napkin is so delicate, the Deco Page as a whole is nice and thick. So I sprayed down just to thin it a little bit. It's always best to work with something thick because you can always thin it down. But if you work with something that's very thin, especially glue, there's no way to thicken it up unless you let the water evaporate out of it. I think I'm going to need a little bit more. And what this is doing now is it's sealing. And if I have an air pocket, I'll just use my brush and punch it in. Yes, I do this to my brushes, and this brush is so old. And it's one of my favorite brushes. You think my favorite brushes would be the more expensive ones, but nope. There we go. That's it. Then you let that dry. Now this I would let dry for at least 6 hours because there's a lot of drying involved. Then I'd flip it over, and once you feel it, okay, it's strong enough for me. But let's say you're working on something a bit thinner. Once you feel it, you can collage this one on the back side. Okay? So that takes care of that. I'll move that over. Oh my goodness. And let's just use this one here. So let's pretend you have now a little card like this, cardstock that's really, really thin. It's kind of flimsy. Or if you just have a mixed media piece, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm just going to use this as an example. Let's say, even if it's thick and you want to decorate it, so find an area that you like and you can do that. Take your Deco Page. And this is assuming you don't have a big sheet that you're going to cut down. You can't put the glue on this because it's very delicate. Take it and just lay it where you want. I'll just put it here. Okay. You're going to let that dry, and then you're just going to trim the edge. Look how it's starting to curl already. Okay. So that's going to give me a nice translucent look. I can take some Deco Page and put it on the front just as an extra sealer. Make sure you put your parchment paper down first, or your no-stick sheets. There's a product out there made by Ranger. It's a no-stick mat. It's like Teflon. Nothing sticks to it. I can't find it locally. I've been told it's about $30 for a small sheet, which is good because then you don't throw anything out. But my parchment paper, once I can't use my parchment paper anymore, the stuff that my no-stick stuff, once I can't use these anymore, I collage them onto thinner papers that I use for mixed media. Okay, so this I will just put aside to dry. That's it. So then let's say I want to take this one now, an actual card that this is a card that I've printed music paper, no, sorry, a wash, I printed music paper, then I printed the butterfly, and I want to put something on the back. I'm going to do it on the other side. And this applies to anything. Doesn't have to be ATCs. Postcards, just a card, a mixed media piece, even for a decorative piece, a painting. Okay, and I will just do this on the other side. Let's see, where do I want? I'll just do it here. Now, there's no need to put Deco Page on this because it's already done, but you know what? I'm just going to put it on there just a little bit just to give it that extra seal. When you do a wash of color on something, it's not very strong because there's very little paint. It's more moisture to keep it thin. Okay. And then on the other side, now I'll actually hang this up to dry. Let me get right on top of the parchment paper. That's going to make for a beautiful background. And I'll just seal the back. And I'll seal this one too. I forgot to do this piece. And yeah, the wet decoupage is right on the parchment paper. It doesn't matter. Nothing's going to stick to it. And then what I'll do is I will just simply, I could actually gesso this part. And then I'll just pull it off and then hang it up to dry. Look at that. Just had enough. That's it. Put that brush in water. Peel that up. Look at that. Nothing stick to it. And then I'll just hang this up. And then when it's dry, I'll just trim it. Now I've got one ATC that's strengthened and card, and then one card that's just, I just decorated the back. So hopefully that'll give you some ideas on how to prepare material for ATCs, postcards, regular paintings, anything to strengthen your support. And always look to your recycle bin to reuse material that you have. That way you're not spending the extra money and you're reusing something, and it doesn't have to go to a recycling depot or to a landfill. All right, so join me now for the ATC and postcard videos, and now you'll know what to do to start making some art. Stay inspired.